Come on guys, let's learn AWS IAM today. So before IAM, I'm going to explain what is the difference between authentication and authorization. So I will explain that with an example. So consider this as your college. Let's go back to college base and so to enter into your college, what you need? You need ID card. That ID card, you can call it as a authentication. And once you enter into the college will have multiple departments and it can have library and several classrooms, and it can have staff rooms, principal room, etc. So once you enter the college, what you can do is you can go into your classroom and you can sit in that particular classroom. That is your authorization. You can't go into principal room and you can't sit in principal chair, right? You are not authorized for that. So what you can do inside college, that is authorization. So to enter into the college, what you need, that is authentication. So let's take that example into AWS account now. So now consider this as your AWS account, and to log in into your AWS account, what you need, that is authentication. So once you are login into your AWS account, this AWS account will have multiple resources or multiple services like EC2, RDS, S3, cloud formation templates. There will be several resources or services. So once you are inside your AWS account, what you can do with these services is called as authorization. So for example, uh, you have something called as RDS here, that is your DB service, and you have production databases stored in this particular RDS. So like you can't log in into AWS account and delete this particular production DB, right? You are not authorized for that. So what you can do inside this AWS account, you can call it as authorization. So now let's take an example. There is a new joinee in our company named, let's name him as Jack, and he asks your AWS access. So once he joined the company, he need all the access, right? So he asks for AWS access. And consider yourself as a AWS admin, and you are going to configure his access now. So first, what you need to do is you have to ask what level of access he needs, whether he need access for EC2 resources or RDS or S3, which resource he need access. So you are going to ask him all this information. So once he gave all this information, you have to configure two things. One is his authentication and another one is authorization. So now you have to configure Jack's authentication. For authentication, what you will create in AWS is user. So you'll create a user, name it as Jack, and you will create his credential and other things. So that is your authentication. For authentication, you will create a user. Then for authorization, what he can do inside that particular AWS account, for that you create something called as policies. So policies is for authorization, and you will attach these policies to this particular user so that this Jack user will have the access that are mentioned in this particular policy. So like Jack, there are several other new joinees also joining your company. So for every user, you can't create separate policy and then you can't attach that policy to that particular user, right? That is overhead. So to avoid that, we have something called as groups in AWS. Particular group, you add users, then that group you attach policy. So all the users of this particular group will have the same level of access. Like that you can configure. There is one more concept called as roles. So why do we need roles? Now take an example. Consider there is an RDS database inside our AWS account, and there is an external application, and that external application should have the access for your RDS DB. How we can configure this now in terms of user or roles policies? How we can configure? For that, for that particular application, you can't create a user, right? For that, you can create a role, and for that role, you can attach the policies, and now that particular application role can have the access for your particular DB. So generally, roles can be used for applications, or your, for example, your CI/CD application like Jenkins, GitLab, GitHub Actions. These CI/CD applications should have the AWS account access. For those applications, you can't create a user and username, password, credential, right? For that, you will create a separate roles. So all of these user policies, groups, and roles are managed in a AWS service that we will call it as IAM. So what is IAM? Identity and access management. Identity is for authentication, access is for your authorization. So let's see in demo now. So let's create user for Jack and AWS access for him. So I have logged in as AWS admin now, and there is a search bar. You can search for any services here. So I'm going to search for IAM service now. So click on IAM and click users. First I have to create user, then I can attach policies for that particular user. So for authentication, first I have to create a user. So click on create user and give a username. I will name it as Jack. And there is an option called as provide user access to the AWS management console. So you need access for AWS management console. AWS management console is nothing but what you have seen now. This is AWS management console. So apart from that, there is other like AWS CLI, and from that also users can access this AWS. For now, I want to give the AWS management console access for this Jack user, so I'm enabling that, and I want to create an AWS IAM user. I am not using any identity center. I want to create a AWS IAM user now. So select that option. Then there are two options, auto-generated password or custom password. I can choose anything. I am going to choose auto-generated password. Then also I am going to enable user must create a new password at next sign in. So next sign in, Jack user should create a new password to sign in. So I'm going to create auto-generated password, and I'm going to pass those credentials to Jack. Then he can sign in and he can reset his password. So that's it. Then you can go and click on next. Then there are a lot of options like add user to group, copy permission, attach policy directly. So I'm not going to add this user to any group now. I have not created any group. So I'm not going to copy permission or attach policy. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to attach any policies. So he should be able to log in, but he can't access anything. Uh, so I will just click on next. I have not attached any policy, so he should be able to log in. That's it. Then I can download the CSV file, and I can pass that CSV file to Jack so that he can access the AWS account. So that CSV file we have downloaded will look like this. It will have username, that is Jack, and password, and the console sign in URL. So we are going to pass this to Jack. So Jack then sign into the AWS using this sign in URL. So I'm for demo, I'm just open a incognito window, and I will sign in as Jack here. So let's see. So the URL is still loading. So you will see this login page. So account ID is automatically added because it will be the part of your sign in URL. So this account ID also you can get it here also. So if I go here, this is the account ID. I can copy this also, or in sign in URL also we will get the this account ID. So next I have to enter the username and password. So I am username, that is obviously Jack. This is the username. and the auto generated password. Password is this one. So then click on sign in. So now Jack should be able to sign in. Before signing in, it will ask for change his password. That's what I have enabled. So while creating the user, he should be reset his password before signing in. So I have entered the old password, new password, and retype the password. So I have reset the password now. Then I can click on confirm password change. So now I have logged in as Jack. You can see the username here. That is Jack. And if I search for any service, for example, S3, I can search for that service. Go to buckets here. Here you can see you don't have any permission to list buckets because for Jack I didn't attached any policy while creating the bucket. While creating the user, I didn't added any policies for that particular user. That's why I'm not able to see any buckets here. But if I go to my admin account, here in S3, I can see all the buckets. So check out my S3 video also. I have explained how we can create buckets and other things there. So you can check out that video. So now let's for Jack user attach attach one policy so that he can see the S3 buckets in AWS account. So I will go to IAM and users, and in users I'm going to attach one policy for Jack. I will create a policy now. Click on policies and create policy. Now in policy, I have to select a service. So for service, I want to give list S3 buckets access. So service will be S3. Then action allowed. You can select effect allow or deny. I want to allow the action should be allow because I want to allow to see the S3 buckets. So I can click for all S3 actions. That is nothing but full S3 access, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to give the list access. So in list, I'm going to give the list bucket permission. List bucket, and I want to give list all my buckets permission. So that user can see all the buckets. That's it. Read, I don't want to give any read, write permission. I just want to give list all my buckets permission. So resource, I want to give all resource, white card entry. Then I can click on next. So I can give a policy. I will name it as S3 policy. S3 policy for users. Then I will click on create policy. So now policy is created. So if I click on refresh, I should not be able to see the buckets now also because I have not attached the policy to the user yet. So still I'm getting the same error. So if I go to my users now and click on Jack and permissions, there is only one permission policy status, that is IAM user change password, that I have enabled while creating the user. So now if I want to give any other permission, I can go to add permissions here and attach which policy I want to add. So can attach policy directly and I can search for that policy. It is S3 users policy. Search for that. S3 policy users. This is the policy I have created. There are two types of policies basically. One is AWS managed and customer managed policy. So if I don't want to create policy, custom managed policy that I have already created, I can use the default AWS managed policy also. For example, Amazon S3 full access. For example, some users need full S3 access. Then I can just attach this policy. I don't need to create any policies. Just attach because that policy is already defined by the AWS only. So now I am going to attach custom managed policy, that is I have created policy. Now S3 policy users. I'm going to attach that and click on next. Then click on add permissions. So JARC user is created now. So sorry, attached the policy to the JARC user now. So for now, for JARC user policy is attached. So if I go to JARC user now and if I click on buckets, all buckets should be listed now because policy is already attached. See now, all the buckets is I can list that bucket, and if I can go to any bucket also, and if I go to any bucket and if I click on any object and if I click on download, I get access denied error because I have the permission only to list the buckets. I don't have the read permission for any bucket. For that, I can for JARC user, I can modify that particular policy that we have created. That is S3 policy users. If I click on that particular policy and click on edit, and policy edit, we can do it in two ways. One is JSON format and another one is visually. So generally we'll do it on JSON format only, but I will show how we can edit the policy in JSON in next session. But for now, I'm going to do it in a visual way. So switch into visual way and click on S3. And I gave only list permission. Now I'm going to give the read permission so that JARC user should be able to download that particular any object also. So for that, I can give get object permission and click on next and save changes. So policy is modified now. And if I go to JARC user now, and now if I try to download the file, click on that particular object, and if I click on download, now I should be able to download this file. Yes, it will ask for save the file, and if I click on save, and it will be downloaded to my local. So now I have the get object permission for JARC user, so I'm able to download the file. Now if I want to upload the file using JARC user, can I do that? I'll try that also. If I click on add files and if I try to upload any file, and if I click on upload, I'm getting this error because I don't have the access to upload file, or I don't have the access for write files. Now I'm going to modify the policy again. I will give the write access also. So I will go to visual and go to S3, and I'm going to give the write access. So in write, I can give the put object permission. Where is put object permission here? So you can see put object permission here, and enable that and click on next, then save changes. So policy is modified now. Now I should be able to upload the file also. So if I click on close this and click on upload, and now if I want to add any files, and now if I click on upload, the file is uploaded. So that readme file is uploaded to this bucket now. So like this, I can control the access for particular user, like read access, write access, or only list access. Like that, I can control the access using the policies. That is authorization part. So authentication part is creating the user and credentials for that particular user, and authorization part is creating the policies and attaching that policy and modifying these particular policies. Now let's see how we can utilize the groups. So let's create group now. Click on user groups here and click on create group. So I'm going to create a group called as Titanic. There is a just take an example, like there is a project called as Titanic, and for that project I'm going to create a group called as Titanic. So there is a group name. Then I am going to add the user, that is Jack user. Then I can attach the policy also that I have created, that is S3 custom policy, S3 policy users. So I have added the user and also the policy. Then click on create user group. Now the new user group is created, that is Titanic, and Jack is the one of the user in this particular group. Consider one more new joining, Rose, and she's part of this Titanic project only. Then instead of creating new policy and attaching that policy to that particular user, I can directly add that user to this group only, so that she will also have the same access as Jack. So I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to create user first for authentication. So create user, and I will follow the same step, like I want management console access, and want to create as IAM user, auto generate password, and the reset password when sign in, and click on next. And I am going to add into Titanic group. While creating the user only, I can select that group. So now she's part of this Titanic group, and I have created a user and I have added the user in one step only. So now I can download this CSV file and I can pass that to the user. So now if I go to group, user group, and if I click on this particular group, I can see two groups in this particular user now. So it's still loading. Let's see. So there are two users now, Jack and Rose. So and they both have the same level of permission, because the permission is, this policy is attached to this particular group. So if I create one more user and if I add that particular user in this group, then that particular user also have the same level of access. So now let's see, login as Rose, and let's see whether she should be able to see the same level of access. So this is the CSV file for Rose user. So if I open this sign in URL, and if I try to log in to that user now, so I have to enter the password and username. Username is nothing but Rose, and the password is the auto generated password. So username and the password. Sign in. And the vault, I have to reset the password, vault password, and the new password I can give it here. So retype that password and click on confirm password change. So now I have logged in as a Rose user. So, and if I open S3 now, and she should be able to see all the buckets now, because the policy is already attached to the group, and she is part of that particular group. So all the buckets she is able to see, and if I open any bucket, she should be able to download the file, because read access already given, and also she should be able to upload the files also, because write access also already given. So she has the same level of access as Jack user, but I have not created any new policy and attached, but I have just added the user to the group. So I am able to download now, and if I try to upload also, that should be also possible. So let's see that now. So I can add files. And if I add this file, click on upload and upload it. So she should have the all the access that are added to that particular policy. So this is the use case of group. And next is roles. I'm not going to demonstrate a role for now because role is it's an advanced topic and I'm going to cover in next sessions. So role generally it is used for like if there are any third-party application or any integration or if you want to communicate your AWS service with any other AWS account, at that time you're going to use roles. And I'm in next sessions, like if there are any CI/CD integration is required for AWS account, at that time I'm going to create role and I'm going to explain roles in detail. It doesn't make sense if I explain that role concept now. So that's it about IAM. I have explained user, group, and policies. These are the main things, the basic things in IAM. That's it. So subscribe to the channel and check out my S3 video also. So I have explained S3 in detail in that particular video, and also you can check out for any other DevOps videos, like I have uploaded Git and Docker, and there are other videos also in pipeline. And so subscribe and keep learning.